talked. Okay, so we actually received that just before the last meeting. It was too late to get it in the packet, so we didn't present it then. In the meantime, we've been scratching our heads about potential fillings for Steve. And you can correct me if I'm wrong here, sir. But tentatively, there's a plan that Kevin Turnbull will step in and they'll kind of tag team it. So when Kevin's gone, Stephen can take. And when Stephen's gone, Kevin will fill in. Is that correct?
Well, the last time Kevin and I talked about it, it would be when he's gone for the winter, I would do it.
You'd fill back in. But other than that, he would do the bulk of it.
That's the way that I understood it.
But you've got everything handed off to him. Okay, yeah. Great. All right. Okay. I don't foresee that there's an issue.
Yes, there is. He's the building inspector. He inspects his own building. That's against the law.
Who's that? Kevin?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll make sure we don't do that.
Well, that's fine. But the thing is I think were you going to try to do something tonight?
Do something else.
Let's hire somebody?
This was just hypothetical at this point.
Well, let's think about that for a little bit before we do it.
Well, no, you're right. He's not going to inspect his own building.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So we'll work around that, whether it gets figured out in Steve's purview, or we'll get somebody in from the county to do that if has to be.
Will you remind me is there some certifications that have to be
Yes.
obtained?
Mm-hmm.
And so he would
Yep.
have to do that.
Steve will work with him, hand off most of the stuff, and work with him on the certifications, what he needs to get done.
Well, there's an individual buildings over there in Morelia. He does all northern Whitman County for the building inspector.
Okay.
So
That's a thought. That's a thought.
Shouldn't this go out for bid?
I mean, Chairman, I agree with you, Dan. Sure.
I don't think so. I think this is the same as a code enforcement officer. And the same sort of purview as I think it's within my right to hire and fire.
So what are you paying?
I believe right now we're set at $500 a month for the building inspector.
Well, isn't the guy in Roselia, isn't he $50 per
He does it on
inspection?
whatever it costs to do the job, he does it. In other words, the city's just basically kind of out of the loop. And so what he charges for a building permit, and then he goes back and does all the work, building permits, he does all the paperwork, goes to the county,
Right.
does everything like that.
And we figured it was cheaper than $500 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the raise the wash. I think certainly, Kevin certainly not a bad candidate. I just thought we would maybe advertise the position and involve the council a little bit in what's going on. I mean, you've had it 2 weeks, we didn't know anything about it until now.
Well, we couldn't. We had to put it out as of what the council decided, that it needs to be in your packet before it's announced. So now it's in your packet, and it's announced now. So, right.
No, my bad. It was not in the packet. I had it
excuse
in
me.
my council meeting folder and I didn't see it.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
that's why
Our screw.
it was my bad.
Okay.
Well, in this kind of case, so during the mayor reports, you couldn't have reported it during the mayor report. It didn't have to be a correspondence. Because if you're reporting on other hires and fires, I don't know why you couldn't brought that up to us.
Well, I'm just thinking because we had not included it in the packet, which was the purview of the council, that this had to be done before it was presented.
Well, it was letters to the, in general from the public. This is a little bit different when an employee is, or somebody.
Well, I don't think the council specified that at that point.
Okay, well, I think you, yeah.
I'm not
Whatever.
I'm
think
not hiding
the fact
that.
that we never, it didn't come in the packet anyway,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
But, I
So-
mean, just seems in the future, if it's an employee thing or somebody's on salary, it
Certainly.
doesn't seem.
Steve hasn't walked away. He's got other projects that are being built that he's got to walk through and complete. We could certainly talk about this, and we'll entertain the thought of putting it out there for other people. research that a little bit.
I think Kevin certainly, it could be a temporary, at the very least a temporary plan, so there's somebody to cover and do these things, and Steve is gone. But at the same token, there's some merit to what David's saying. Sounds reasonable. If we can have somebody take care of that long term and one less hassle for the city, especially if you indicated it's kind of a wash as far as cost.
Do you know what the guy's name is, Steve? Do you know what his name is?
Billington, William Billington, over in Rosalia.
Bill?
Yeah, Bill Billington. Billington.
Okay, that's his last name, this is his first name, Bill.
Bill.
Okay, I'll do some research.
We're going to have him come if there's a presentation to hear it, council hear what he has to say. This would be a new direction.
And is there a Whitman County building inspector as well, Dave?
No, not really. Whitman County is one of those counties that kind of falls through the cracks. And he takes all the little towns up here, plus works in the upper county. And Tekoa's one of the ones that he doesn't have. So he called me a few weeks ago and asked me if we would be interested. And I said, well, we'll look at it. And then this come up, and I said, well, it might be all right. And so what he does is somebody comes in with a permit, and then the city hands him the permit, and he deals everything with that. He does the inspections, he does all the payments.
That's the county one.
Mm-hmm.
So you have two options on the table. There is no county one, it's just the Rosalia one, different.
It's the same guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. But the problem is sometimes what the towns look at is you're paying for a building inspector, and there's some years you don't have anything. So you're putting out money, and you're not getting anything in return. And so that's why a lot of the towns they just go with this individual here, because he takes over all the costs and everything else. There's no cost to the town or the state.
Okay. So he comes and gets the building permits from the city. Who ensures that the building permits are being bought?
They're all registered with our.
For instance, if a guy just starts, just hypothetically, on the edge of town starts roofing and hasn't gotten a permit, and nobody notifies us. I mean, there is a certain strength to having a guy in town doing this stuff.
All I'm doing is bring up costs.
Good.
Bring up
I
costs.
think that's why it's important to have him come and talk to the
But-
council.
Yeah, but the problem is also, there's been cases where even the building inspector that's in town doesn't catch it.
Right.
And that has happened a lot.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Well, 2 years ago, in a small town too, it was built on, I know, about our house, when I came and checked it, there was a garage built there they didn't know anything about. That was built on the road previously to our south. It was built this thing, no permits, it was built. That's fairly common, say, 30 years ago.
Okay. Let me do some checking and find out how the costs compare or don't compare. Okay. Community group updates. Anybody have anything? Unfinished business, credit card policy, ma'am.
okay, with the credit cards for, I take it to the city now, everybody's turned in their credit cards. And so now we can start formulating a policy to put into the policy manual that there will only be 2 credit cards in monitored by you.
But that's your policy.
Yeah, so we want to get that worded in there. And so that way we don't have any problems in the future. So we'll get something written up. And I'm happy to see that your credit cards are turned in, because that seems to be a big problem in many areas.
Sure.
Okay. Happy? Okay. That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
So what do you perceive a policy looks like?
I'll have to put one together. There's a very good one. I turned it over to Mike. Did you look at it?
Yeah, it's pretty inclusive. I think we can do something a lot simpler than that, though.
Oh, yeah, that's, get it worded. Yeah, the thing's about 4 pages.
Yeah, I think we can do it in a single page.
Yeah, so I think that's what we'll work on here.
If you put something together, let me know and I'll look at it for you.
And
Okay.
then have Eric look at it.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna have to happen.
we gotta have somebody checking out? Is that what has to happen if you're gonna use a credit card?
Yeah.
Kim? Fine, good, fine. Follow-up, tiny homes?
So two things on that. One was, I just wasn't sure the process from here. Does it come back to us and do we give that to Eric or do you do that, Eliza, where we sign off on it as a new ordinance, or do we just add it as an addendum? How does that work?
It needs to be a new ordinance. You can't modify an ordinance without another ordinance. I would suggest you send it to Eric to make sure it's fairly complete. Because you've got the general things you want on there, but he'd probably have questions for you.
Okay, and I know he was here, but I'll check to make sure.
I-
And then he'll bring that, we bring that back and it gets signed by Roy and then put in the newspaper and then
That's right.
and then hopefully on our site, on the website. Okay, I have one more thing.
Well, one question I was thinking about today is on the tiny homes is great, but if you get a family that comes in there that's got 3 kids, they can't live in it. And so I think somewhere along the line there's a rule that you have to have so much square feet if you got a family. And a tiny home wouldn't work because you'd be crowding them in to a small space. Have you heard that one before?
Nope.
I haven't heard anything about that. It was just point of clarification for everybody. The definition of a tiny home is 400 square feet or less. So it could be 200 square feet, which still qualifies. And all of them in this state, I forgot to bring it, I apologize, will have an Labor and Industries tag on them showing that they meet all those specifications and requirements to be in the state of Washington. I'll try and remember to bring it to the next meeting.
And 400 less.
But what we approved was all the way through. So
Right.
tiny homes and smaller than what's already on our, we have 1,000. Yeah.
Well, there was some question on the size of the tiny home last week, so I went and looked it up.
Okay, and then that addendum that we have in there, that it's the state addendum, that will, it specifies everything that you just said. So, then I just wanted to follow, somebody asked me about this, or I guess apparently they've been watching online, where you had brought up maybe having a committee for people to like pre-approve their plans for a tiny home. And I know you didn't bring it back up, you had asked about forming that, and I just want to clarify that I would say we don't really need that. We don't do that with other permitting and things like that. So
No, I was just trying.
we move on.
I was just trying to fast track something a little bit so we didn't just keep passing this thing back and forth and trying to figure it out. I thought if we could get a committee with the building inspector, given a set of parameters that we needed to abide by, then we could get this thing done in 30 days versus 3 months. That could be fair.
Well, I think we've been, like I was pretty consistent trying to follow through that. So we're good then. We don't need a committee. Okay, that's all I have on that.
Okay?
Your comment did motivate us a little bit.
Pardon?
Your plan did motivate us a little bit. Have a community and all that kind of thing.
I don't know about, I thought it was something totally different.
No.
I did.
But
Okay.
it made me think more about it. Yeah.
Okay, new business. Man,
Let's postpone until the next meeting, they called and said.
you weren't able. Okay. JB, airport funding request, resolution 24-01.
There's 2 parts to that. The first one is the funding request, which is the invoice at the top. DOT has requested $1,305.90 as the periodic payment, and that needs approval of the council.
Okay. Any questions on this?
I'd make a motion to approve the funding, or pay the invoice to JEB. The funds are already in the account.
Say that.
Okay, moved and seconded that we pay JUB your request. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Investment,
No, there's a second
I've got a
part.
whole bunch of airport
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
oh, we got some. Well, no, I saw 2401, I just didn't know, okay.
Just to let you guys know, I put another diagram of the airport in there this week again. It's the one I shared last time. So what we're gonna do, there's also a schedule of how we will carry out the grant if it's funded to us. It'll go through March next year. The other thing we need to do is sign a grant assurance, and that, all that says is we'll comply with state and federal statutes, whatever, that we assure the state that we're gonna go ahead and do all of that. There also is the application in here, and it, for the grant. It's kind of long. We're looking for $166,000 plus dollars. And if you look through, there's actually one blank page in there, and that's for additional project. The other thing I have is resolution 2401, and I'm asking the council to approve the expenditure of $8,750 if we get the grant. The money's already at the airport in the account. I just need you guys to approve spending it if the grant is approved. That's our match. And if you guys are willing to, I'm on a short timeline. I've got to have this in before the 30th, I believe. And if you would be willing to approve the $8,750, it would help me, because then I can include that with the information going to DOT to show them that, hey, we're up and running, we've got the money. The other bit of good news I've got is the county commissioners gave final approval today to our 09 grant request for new runway lights.
Oh, they did.
So I'll let that project go. We're going to order the lights, and as soon as the runway's done, we'll put them in. So if you guys would please look at that 2401, and if you could accept the motion to sign in, I would appreciate it.
So basically, Mike, this is everything that, when Tim was here last time, kind of, this is just it.
This is what he sent to me to make sure we had it.
So it's all the same timelines we talked about,
Yeah.
and my question about would the grant go away with all the weird stuff happening, and we felt like it was probably pretty secure.
Right now, the DOT aviation section funding doesn't come from so much from the legislature. That's a small part of it. Most of their funding comes from fuel sales and other sales. That's where they gather their revenue. And they've got a new guy down there, his name is Garth, and I've been talking to him, and they feel that their funding is secure. And by us starting out 2 years ago with the first grant request, and now the runway this year, and then this follows on for planning and design, they want to see us finish it because it's a huge project. And what we've convinced them or told them about is the Port of Whitman will benefit from what we do too, because it's going to allow aircraft access for people to fly in and go to the port project. So they're still on board with it. I kind of want to kick it down the road a little bit.
When are you expecting them to make a decision about the?
It will probably be middle of June, maybe July on this grant.
Okay.
And then they'll give us a timeline, usually a year to complete it.
Well, I'll motion that we approve the funding. I need to say the number of 2401.
Okay.
And I
Sherry?
second this.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
Thank you, everybody. We're
Now it
gonna-
passes.
We're going to have almost an international airport for you. This flyer, one more thing that everybody got. I got this today from the Classic Airways people. It's just some information on what they do. They're not going to be landing at Pico, but they have a timing point set up, so they have to fly over Pico during their air race and take pictures of whatever they do to record their times as part of their race before they end up at Phelps Field. So
Not
I'm
even-
sure that would be.
Not even a touch and go?
No.
Unless something happens.
Yeah, but as far as the air race is concerned, I guess they've got some type of electronic device when they fly over our airport, they can take a picture, or there's something that's recorded via radio frequency.
we won't be tore up at that point, will we? You won't be working on it at that point?
No, that'll be a month ahead of us.
In July? Okay.
Do you know about how many participants would fly over it?
I'm not sure. Sometimes they are giving of their information, but I think there's probably 25 or 30 airplanes is what I have understood.
It might be, we're trying to put something like this on a couple of the two-bill,
We've got them here, so.
like on the Facebook sites or something, because then people are like, oh, all those planes.
Planes
falling
falling
over.
out, yeah.
Good idea.
Plus, it'll be fun to just know more people like to watch for that.
Yeah.
One last comment on the airport, if I may. We're looking at probably the last week of August after harvest and before school starts, we're putting together some type of a celebration for our new runway. Chamber's kind of interested in helping out on that. I'm going to need some volunteers. I need to talk to Donovan about maybe putting some type of a deal out there where we could sell hamburgers and hot dogs or whatever. Airline Pilots Association, they're starting to get on board. They may show up with some planes too, so
Would Lifeline be interested in it?
I'll bet they would. But I just gotta get some dates and things put together. And
I'm happy to
start-
help if there's something I can do.
Thank
Design
you.
a poster or something.
Thanks, Jeff.
Great, thank you. Investments, ma'am?
Okay, so as you all know, we have 3 treasury bonds, and 2 of them came to maturity on the 15th of this last month. So Harrison Stenberg sent me some more information on what's going on with rates right now for a couple different scenarios. We, of course, can always roll that back into LGIP if that's what the council decides to do. And then the things that are available right now for treasury bonds that were yielding the best, and he confirmed today that these are exactly the same rates that we talked about last week. For a 3-year treasury strip bond, the yield rate is 3.85. For a 2-year treasury strip bond, the yield rate is 3.82. And for a 1-year, it's 3.95. So the one treasury note that we still have that won't mature until 2027 is at a stellar 4.62, which is really good. So,
So these came down.
yes, well, interest rates in general, you know, they're fluctuating. So, the thing about putting it in the bonds is that it's a little less liquid. You can get it out, but you get what you get, depending on what's going on with the market at that time. And the money that's in these different treasury notes is prorated for all the different funds that we have in our investments in general. So it's not like it's all one fund that's in the notes. It's portions of what we have in all of the different accounts that's in each of the different instruments. So,
Do we have any bonds for the maturity of a year?
well, no, we don't.
Yeah.
We have the 2 that came mature just a few days ago, and then the one that's 2 years out.
We have loans out. What is the percentage on those loans right now?
I don't know the exact percentage of them. Most of our really long-term notes are somewhere between 0.5%. We have that for a 5-year, which is very low, and up to, I think, around 2%, but I'd have to research that to know for sure for you.
Because I'd like to look into taking some of that and paying off these loans that we have.
You can only use the portion that's in each one of them that is designated for that fund. So, for instance, if there's a $100,000 treasury note, which you have 2 of them that just came mature, it might only be 28% sewer or something like that. You can't take the whole thing and put it into paying off those loans because they're all utility. There's one water loan and then several sewer loans. So you could take the portion that belongs to the sewer reserve and use that, but you could use the whole.
Could we put it into the sewer reserve though?
Well, it's in sewer reserve now. I mean,
Yeah,
right now it's sitting in a bank account, so it's
Right,
not making
right.
much. But yeah,
Right.
you could put it into LGIP and that portion would still grow as sewer reserve. That's where sewer reserve is. It's either in a treasury note or it's in the local government investment.
My question would be, if our loans are at such low interest rates, if we cash one of these in, we're giving interest away. We're not gonna make the 3 or 4 or 5% that we're making to pay off a 2% or 0.2% loan. So why wouldn't we continue?
That's what the interest rate on the loans were.
Right.
So you gotta find that one out before you make that decision.
I think Mike's right. I think that you hate to take a interest-bearing treasury or any bond that's generating interest that exceeds the
Right.
debt interest.
No, I get
That's-
that.
That's
That's
not
what I was
a
just
good
wondering.
investment. How much we have, Phil, invested in the,
Well, so I think our LGIP totals for up to 560 or something. I would have to look to confirm that for you. And then we had $300,000 in treasury notes until the 15th. And now we have 100,000 in treasury notes and 200,000 plus all the interest in the bank. So in total, we're getting closer to 900,000.
yeah. So,
You know, Wenzel, we had set some more money aside for sewer at our last budget, and that was that LG,
It would go into LGIP.
and you have it, I forget how much more, but it was like 150,000 or
Yes,
something,
you're right.
plus whatever is there. So were any of these that just matured, were they earmarked for sewer? Or is
No,
it just
a
in
portion
the
of them is sewer.
Okay.
Yeah, so whether it's in the LGIP or in the notes, there's a percentage that belongs to the different funds according to how it was originally invested.
So what is your suggestion to the council as to how we should invest as far as, because you see all you see what
LGIP. Right, well, it's been doing very well, you know,
What's our
so it's over 4%. Considering, I mean, both of them, there's only certain things that you can invest in as government, so you can only get certain bonds, you can only, you know, for the local government pool, you could do it with the county if they did that, but we don't do that here in Whitman County. So, it really depends on how much liquidity you want. So if you want it really liquid, you could put it in LGIP. But it's going to fluctuate much more with the market. So the note stays even.
This is more secure. This is more secure,
Well,
but higher interest in.
they're both quite secure in terms of what you're talking about. The treasury note is, of course, considered the most secure investment in the world. But you might get a little bit more back on LGIP. You could split it up too. I mean, you could invest in a shorter term note. You could put half of it in LGIP. It's really what makes the most sense to me to do.
Do we have to decide tonight?
You don't have to decide tonight, but I did want to clarify, I don't think we're meeting again until June 16th. So then we would use a month.
yeah,
And right now, that is quite a bit of money.
it is.
So,
Well, Pete, you have a lot of experience in this. What do you think?
Generally, we're trying to line with those as best we can. Do we have any particular demand on any of those funds that you think of in the next year? I mean, if we're talking about 1, 2, 3 years, the last time we were, what, 2 and 3 years?
so the actual sewer plant, like I don't know that we will even have to come up with matching funds at the time, depending on the structure of the loan. So I don't know that the city really needs high liquidity for at least a couple of years.
I think so.
Yeah.
And the LGT, that's invested in what?
Whatever the Washington State
Right.
treasurer
Like,
thinks is good instrument.
and the load on those are what's the state versus the private side we're using?
That's a great question. The state is extremely minimal. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a few dollars a month for getting close to $600,000 in funds. We pay $26 a month for custody fees for the safekeeping account that we have to keep the money in. We do have to change the safekeeping account here pretty soon because US Bank is changing how they do things. And I think it's going to go to a $0 custody fee, so that will help. But there are fees involved when you change the bonds from one place to another. So that's a couple $100. So it takes a little minute to make that up.
So it sounds like we should just reinvest it. Mike, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm looking at this and it's almost a wash. The one thing I'm looking at though is the 1 year would pay us more in interest if we remove these as opposed to the 2 or 3 year. And that way we've got a year where we can go back and get it if we have to. I don't see any reason in the next 2 or 3 years where we're going to need that money. But, as far as the sewer plant, that's still probably 5 or 6 years out. So the more money we can make now, the greater we are. My option, and please somebody tell me if I'm wrong, would be to take the 1 year.
I agree with you, Mike.
Well, if we take the money, how much are we talking about for the 1 year?
I'm sorry,
How
what's
much?
the rate?
Yeah, if we put it in 1 year, how much?
It's like a 10% greater than the 2 or 3 year.
Yeah, it's 0.05% below 4 points, so it's 3.95%, which is pretty good. And
That's pretty good.
LGIP it's been hanging out up around 5%, which is outstanding. But
Yeah.
the interest rates dropped, which this right here, this little graph
Right.
shows where they think interest rates will be going, and it is being predicted that they expect them to drop 2 or 3 times before the end of the year.
So if they only do a 1 year though, and then if they have to renew in a year and it's dropped,
Well,
but we really got
that's
ahead.
the opportunity, or the chances we have to take. I mean,
So would it be better to do the 3 year then?
yeah, and we're only giving up maybe 0.1% of interest, but we're locking it in at a minimum price incorrect.
3.95.
So maybe the 3 year would be better. I hadn't thought about that. But
Yeah.
the big thing is we got to keep earning money on whatever we can. The 3 years is the minimum.
I would suggest the 3 year.
Yeah, I agree.
The only thing I like about the 1 year is if something were happening, an emergency or whatever, then you got the money there. But I don't see a plant coming in here for,
Well, and we still have the LGIP funds. If we need something, we can go to that and just pick it up there.
And how much are in the LGIP fund?
I think right now it's around 569, something like that, but I would have to look for
And
you.
that, we have access to that?
Yes, immediately. If it's a request before 10 o'clock in the morning, it's the same thing.
And we can see if we put in, how much money are you talking about for 3 years if you put it at 3? What's the total?
Well, you have the 200,000 that has come back. I mean, you could do both if you wanted to. It just really depends on you.
Do both bonds.
You could do both.
Well, you total how much?
Well, that would be 200,000. It would be slightly less because they're discounted.
Sure. And the interest rate's good. I can remember when too long ago, but, CDs were paying 0.1 some years ago and 0.3. And they said, isn't that a good deal? So I got it good. And so, no, that's for a city. I can remember the county put money into it at 2%. They thought they were getting steel. So I think that's a great interest. But 3 years seems to me makes more sense. We got liquidity on other sources, and that's a good investment. The interest rates probably is going to fall.
So would we renew both bonds then for 3 years?
I would.
Both for 3?
So I'll motion that we renew both for 3 years.
I'll second.
We're going to do it this time.
No.
Been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
We're fortunate to have reserves. I remember the county years ago had $15 million reserve, and then the state found it, and they took some of it. They at Safon. I was 2 million years later, then $1 million or $1 million, after 15 to $1 million. That was all I had. So we're lucky to have what we have.
Okay, what are your thoughts on the pickleball court, crew?
I think it's great.
I think it'd be good. I
Well,
have no
I
problem.
did a little bit of research on it. So I did go talk to John Keaton. He says that that's actually still their property, that they did put claim deed the corner where we put the sign. But he said he doesn't care. He thinks it's great. And then the only thing I checked with Alex Overton. She was the one that was her senior project, was to create that as a memorial. And then you see they've added more people that we've lost in our community to the benches, which is really cool. It looks really nice down there. And she thought the pickleball court lines were great. Her only suggestion was that they do them in a different color than the white lines. But I don't know that we as a council really have the authority to say, because it's really not our property. It's actually Keaton's property, unless you know differently on that. But he doesn't. You could double check. And then I'm assuming Kevin was doing that at his own cost. So I think it's a great idea.
Portable net.
So the consensus is the council supports that.
Pickleball
Pickleball has,
I would just suggest different colors. Different colors, so.
Yeah, probably right.
I mean, we do qualify to have the nursing home still in club. So that's sort of designed for pickleball is totally designed for nursing home, senior living places. Now everybody,
Pretty much all there.
everybody's playing it now.
I don't think we need a motion. Okay, budget committee, what you guys got?
All right, sitting down the last few weeks, this is what we kind of come up with. And so now that things are changing with union and things like that, it was suggested by the budget committee, the first item here was that we freeze wages for the rest of the year. And that way, we don't know what the union's going to do. And I think that this will allow the city to think this thing through. So if we freeze the wages,
How does that apply to the certificates? Because that's a contract, so those can still be increased.
no,
certificate.
we're freezing the wages. They can't get anything.
Well, I would think I would make an exception for the certificates if they got that, because that was promised.
That was promised to them.
I mean, that is part of a budgeted in increase anyway. If you're trying to not change our budget from what we promised, well, we've already promised them an increase once they get that.
An increase for who? Who do we promise?
For whoever, if they get their certification. That's what we're talking
Stephen's
about the
got his
water source.
certification, he passed the test.
Stephen passed
So
the
he's
test.
entitled to.
Oh, no, I see your point there, yeah. But we didn't talk about that too, because it was brought up that we discussed that what are you going to be paying the certification on? We only need a class 2. We don't need a 1. And so it has to be 2 and 2, 1 in water and 1 in.
And that's where he's working.
So, but somewhere along the line, when we were talking about this beginning, we're going to give a $2 an hour thing for each certification. And that's not what it's supposed to be. It's
How does that affect the signed contract that we have with him,
with who?
with Stephen, for those pay raises based on certifications?
I don't know.
Because if you violate the contract, we're going to be in deep country.
Yeah.
So, but are we going to pay $2 for each certification?
That's what that contract was written out
So
as.
in other words, by the time he's done, he's going to get $8 an
He
hour.
might, I don't know. I don't know what certifications he's going after. The other thing that I'm saying is there was, when he came to work here, he and the mayor negotiated a contract. It was approved and signed. So we have to abide by that contract or we're wide open for liability.
I'll have to talk to Rick on that.
How are they working on other communities on this certification?
He's failed the first one.
How are the towns,
Yeah, we just passed it.
Yeah, it's just has to pass it.
but how are the communities dealing with these certification issues?
Well, they work on the fact that if he has to be a class 2, then he gets paid on a class 2. Class 1 doesn't mean anything. And so he has to have a class 2 for water and a class 2 for sewer. But I guess on the contract, I don't know. I don't know how you're gonna do
Well,
this
that's
one because
something
Steve,
that I would suggest.
he's gonna get more money. And I'm not, Steve does a good job. I'm not saying anything on that.
I'm just suggesting if you want to do something, you better talk to Eric about it so that we don't end up in a problem.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a separate issue from what you're asking here about freezing.
Right.
We wouldn't freeze his increase because
No,
that
no,
was
we wouldn't
already.
freeze it.
Well, I misunderstood you then, because you said you were gonna freeze all wages.
No.
But I've asked before, it would be really helpful. I think when we went through those contracts, it's a little confusing to me. I thought we were talking about 2 possible increases. I didn't realize there would be 4 if there's 2 different certifications. And if there could be some kind of schedule in front of us so we could look at that. You know what I'm saying? So, because I don't understand the language. To me, it's Martian when you're talking about all these certifications. So if we had something that showed water, sewer, how many years it takes for each one, and what we have so far agreed, $2 for each one, and then like for water and then for sewer. So if that could just be in writing as a schedule that we have that we could pull out to look at when we're looking at contracts, is that something that could be done?
Certainly.
So on the application, you said that $2 for each certification?
That's been the standard, yes.
I don't know about standard, but
Well, that's what Kevin Engineering, we're under the,
Well, I thought it was 1 when I first came on, so that's where I got
it's always
confused.
been, as long as I can remember, it's been 2, but you're gonna have to straighten
on
it
the
out.
freezing the wages, I'm for the union. Will the union come in here and demand more money?
I have no idea at this point.
Well, that's the part I was looking at, and I was freezing the wages.
But I'm thinking,
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm still kind of new at this, but I don't think the union's gonna change, they're not gonna change in the middle of the creek, in the middle of the water.
Well, I hope not.
Well, I did ask him, and he did say, he said that it could take effect. And of course, we have to prove it. And but he said it could take effect like in June or whenever they're presenting it to us. So what you're saying is that we might go ahead and we would approve, but whatever they bring to us, but you don't want to change the budget
No, I don't want to change the budget.
until the next year. So you want to freeze wages till the end of the year,
Yeah.
regardless, even though we don't know one way or the other.
And then
Is that what you're saying?
for Steve's wages, well, we signed off on that, so we have to talk about it. But I think that by the time he gets his all certification, well, he can get paid more than Spokane people.
I mean, the budget is a complicated thing. I mean, we're concerned about costs. To pay up bills, we have a lot of things coming our way. We have increased costs for lodging and other things. And the compensation the employees are getting are reasonable for for communities in the area. And we have to be cognizant of that, the wages and what it's costing. I think it makes sense to freeze them for the rest of the year and then they can revisit. I don't know if the contract can be revisited as far as certifications. I mean, beyond 2. I don't know if you've done 2 is, is there some way to revisit that contract? But you're right, Mike's right. It's going to have to renegotiate if you do anything on that. You can't just say, I'm not doing that. So you're
And
right.
if you freeze the wages and then the contract negotiations go, hey, we want this or this, then your freeze is basically out the window.
Well, when the county had for years, the wages were, basically, there's no raises for a long time, many years. But the steps still went into effect. So people got their steps, but there wasn't any. They would give it, say, 2 or 3% across the board raise, or 5. That was unlikely, but the steps still went into effect. And a lot of us who didn't get those, didn't get anything. But a lot of people got steps, so the steps still apply.
Could we do what you're doing on hold? Let's find out where the contract with the union's gonna go, and then let's deal with it after we see what their offer is or what they want.
So
Because I don't see any more pay raises coming between now and then anyway.
For the city, no.
So
Other than
if
the
we just
certifications.
stay in limbo on your wage freeze for now, let's let the negotiations take place on the contract, see where that goes, And then when the discussions on the contract come up, that's when we got to look at, we got some hard numbers.
If that gets it more complicated, then you can't be, I'm not sure you can be negotiating for wages and then say we're freezing. Can you really do that?
Well,
That would
basically,
be
my
bad thing.
understanding might be wrong, but the contract, if approved, would take precedence over freezing wages or anything else. So my thought is, let's just put what you guys are thinking about on hold till we find out where the contract's going, and then that can become a point of negotiations with the contract. That would be the simplest and easiest way to deal with it.
Well,
What's the budget committee want to do?
the budget committee suggested freezing the wages.
Okay.
Then what was your experience when you guys unionized? Were you in the middle of all that? Were you there when they unionized, or do you know much about how that worked?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was there, I heard a lot of it. It's an open, so I went to join.
Okay.
There was a benefit, all they did was take money out. Other than that, I never really benefited.
I guess it wouldn't hurt, Dave, if you guys just put that in limbo for now, and let's find out where it's going. We can still act upon it.
Yeah, but how? Because if the union comes in and says, okay, this, here, this, and then we didn't act upon it,
Well, you have to approve the union contract. And once we see what they want as far as wages and benefits and everything else, you're gonna have some hard numbers as far as where they're going with salaries. And that's where you negotiate that if that has to happen.
I still say we freeze the wages. And worry about, and then we negotiate later. Because it gets more complicated as we go along.
that's what I feel, but it's up to the city council.
Well, if you want to make a motion, I mean, I don't know how the rest of the council does, I guess we can find out.
Okay, we got a motion, you got a motion up?
When are we expected to get the contract from the union?
I've met once with them, we haven't met again. And they're probably, you're talking pretty quick, that's
So would we have it by our June 16th?
No.
meeting? Can we table this till our June 16th?
Okay, we'll table it to
We're
the
going to table the
union.
motion till then,
Yeah.
and then just do some
Okay,
research.
we'll have it on the agenda. All right,
Could we find out by then, maybe go out to find out what effect is what the status of those contracts are as far as getting a bump when they get certification? Could we get some clarity on that?
Okay.
That'd be helpful. And that we, then we can move forward on this.
okay, all right.
Okay, I have another thing, and that's it. This is about Steve, and it was brought up. Steve is doing an outstanding job. Even when Steve goes on an ambulance run,
Not Stephen.
Steven,
Okay, just making sure.
yeah. And so when he goes on an ambulance run, who is paying for that? Steve, you here? Steven. When you go on an ambulance run, do you put down the hours that you're gone, or what?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but it's a community service, and that's what it was understood under doing with fire calls.
I agree, I told you you need to be paid, but what I was getting at is, does that money come out of general fund?
I don't know, I'm not the
Can I ask that? Does his pay come out of general fund or water and sewer?
As long as it's being coded for the current expense fund, that's what it comes out of. Now, I believe it does, but I would have to go back and look, I don't know off the top of my head, that wouldn't make any sense with water and sewers.
I put it in current expense.
Yeah, so I'm all for you get paid, so that, and I'm not touching on that, I just wanna know what fund it comes out of. Here's the next one, is on, for timesheets. I think that, in my opinion, that the employees should be more detailed on their timesheets, meaning that showing where they worked for the day, how many hours or whatever. And I think we should have more input of what they're doing for the day.
Do you see the timesheets?
Yeah, but it's usually it doesn't break it down as to what they're doing.
Or what pot to take the money out of.
Yeah.
I know that The county had that same thing. They had a program where you worked the day and whatever you worked on through the day, depending on what it was, you listed that and that came out of whichever pot you were using out of, and it varied from depending on what your programs you're working on. There are several, so they kept it that way. And because we're talking about general fund water sewer, right?
Yeah,
Or streets?
whatever he's working on, whatever, because like this week, he's put a lot of time in down at the park and recreation, and the sidewalk was great. And so he's putting a lot of time on that, so he's putting minimal time in the water and sewer. What I'm trying to do is get the water and sewer a little bit more money here.
Right.
And so he just more detailed of what he does for that day.
Yeah,
And
makes sense.
go ahead, Steve.
Just to kind of add to that, my day can change every 5 minutes. Like I'm not sitting on project for half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour. I can be here, there, and everywhere every 5 minutes. So if you want me to document down to the detail, that will be like a paragraph of what I do in a day. Because I can go do a locate 5 minutes later if somebody else is calling me. So.
Well, I think it should be more detailed on your time, and that's just my opinion. So the money's being taken out of the right funds. I'm not asking minute by minute, but more detailed of what you do during the day.
Is there a phone app for that?
That I don't know.
I think there's a phone app available for your time. Kind of like that.
Okay, thanks for your opinion. We'll take a look at it, address it. I look at the timesheets and I think they're not down to the minute, but I think, they're fairly reasonable as to where the money is being drawn from and stuff like that.
So I think it needs to be more looked at because in the past it's got 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3 coming out. Well, maybe in all reality, in water and sewer, it just may be 10% in sewer and 10% in water and the rest out of the street and general fund.
And it could be 40% in water.
It could be, for the money.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you see allocations that are very uniform, it's likely coming from the office. Public Works already details their time quite a bit more than the office does. And if you think about how things have to be billed in the office, what does Nikki do with the vast majority of her time? It's utility billing. If anything, she probably is spending more time on water and sewer than the allocations that we have. And my stuff is all over the place, but that's one of my thoughts has been that we probably need to be heavier in sewer, not necessarily water, than what we have been. But it really depends every year on what it comes down to. We should be changing our allocation at the end of every year if it's off by too many points from what we thought it would be at the beginning of the year.
So in the bias program, is there a timesheet where it keeps track of that? You add that into your program or whatever?
There's no timesheet, but that is how we do have to segregate it all out when we put the time in for every paycheck. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I just, when he's out on ambulance run, I just think it needs to be taken out of the general fund.
So that's how he's coding it, so that is how it's coming out.
And if there's more, if Nikki's taking more out and spending more time on sewer, that should be accounted for too. I mean, if more is coming up for sewer,
Right.
to make it so we know where the money's going, so we know how it's being allocated, that'd be reasonable. I mean, she's not taking 1/3 out, she's taking like 40%. That should be accurate. You're right. If she's spending a lot of time in sewer, can't say we can't do that. It's only going to be 1/3. Taking more out, that should be accounted for. So they get some idea when somebody says, how much are you really spending on each fund? That should be accurate.
Yeah. And I think, we'll discuss this more.
Yeah.
It's not what we're going to decide anything tonight, but how we can do a better information of where everything is going.
Stephen, what do you think on an average, say, is it a third, and a third about where you are, do you think?
It depends. Like if we have a water issue, water's going to go up.
Over a month? month period, do you think that's, or not?
It's gonna be enforced because there's current expense, there's, the water, sewer, and then street. So there's fourths, and it just depends, like, in the summertime, we run really heavy on the street,
Right?
because we're prepping for Slippery Gulch, which is mostly street. And then it all depends on what happens. I mean, if a water main, knock on wood, goes kaput, then we're gonna be really, really heavy on water. So
Makes sense.
I can't structure that to fit different things. It's just if I have a water project, it's gonna be heavy on water.
Okay. Appreciate that, thank you.
Okay, is that it?
Yep.
Announcements and reports. I think we touched on this last meeting. I'll make this as quick as possible. Been in contact with a gal. She used to work for a report, and now she's toying with the idea of a regional wastewater facility in Whitman County. Wanted to know if we want to participate in listening, and we certainly will listen. We've already talked to a couple towns, I believe Toulouse and Oakdale. We're supposed to meet, she's gone on vacation right now, but we're supposed to meet again. She's already talked to one of the county commissioners, and he was intrigued. Interesting, the Silver Valley pumps stuff to their sewer treatment plant 20 miles. And
They pump it
down
20 miles.
down to Silver Valley, right. Yeah, they built one treatment plant in the Silver Valley. And they save on crew, everybody's got their own private, their own local guys, but then they've got one wastewater tube, one, they've got,
So here you probably have to truck it.
I don't have any idea because I haven't been to the meetings yet. But I just thought I'd throw it out. I mean, Matt was down here one day meeting some guys. They were heading out to the airport, to Greg's out there. And I showed him the conversation that she sent me. And he was as enlightened as I was. There's other places that do this. Southwestern Washington's got an area down there where they do it. And, you look at Spokane, they've got 2 wastewater treatment plants for the city of Spokane. One, I believe, out by Spokane Falls, and one where the old Stockade Inn used to be.
And then they got Post Falls, a building in there, every heights.
Yeah, and they pipe that stuff all the way. So from the north side down, that's quite a ways, isn't it? Anyway, just a
It's not a
thought.
bad idea, actually.
Well,
No, where,
interesting.
depends on where.
Right, interesting. And
Would she come to a meeting and talk to us, or you just
yeah.
go talk to her, or?
we're gonna be in a meeting, and if she wants to, if it gets any further than just wondering about it, I'll get her to come and do it. I mean, because it definitely affects what we'd be doing here,
No question about it.
right? So,
You could pipe a long ways for $15 million.
well, I don't know, we were sitting here and Matt ran the numbers on what the pipe alone it would cost for 20 miles, and it was a lot.
That'd be a
You have
lot.
to have lift stations
A
along the way.
So,
Is it threatened by this?
no, intrigued. I mean, it all, yeah, I don't know, so. Might as well note, tomorrow I'm headed to Yakima to a Brownsfield conference, State Brownsfield conference. It's be tomorrow and Wednesday. It's being picked up by the port. I'm riding down with a port rig, and so I will report what I hear when I get back. So,
So what's the topic?
Brownsfields.
Hazardous waste.
Oh, okay, hazardous waste. I've seen some of it over there in Idaho, where they've been grading out the sledge on the fields. A number of them. Saw the area, 100 acres they laid it out on some years ago, worked it in.
Now, that's sewage or hazardous waste.
No, what he's talking about right there is the cleanup project,
Just say what we're,
the railroad.
what the conversation is with the railroad
Oh,
property.
okay, that's a whole different deal.
I mean, and we haven't,
Okay.
the port has talked to Union Pacific, and maybe on the trip down tomorrow, I'll get to hear what Union Pacific had to say, so.
Okay,
Okay.
that's even better. That's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Ma'am, you got anything?
Just the,
Oh,
in the middle of the annual report, actually more getting closer to the end, so I'll have Springbrook review that as soon as they can get me scheduled and bring it to the next meeting.
the other day, they had a clerks roundtable where they were all talking about the annual reports, and I think that went really pretty well. So, okay? Look,
I asked a question on on the check register, here, so the Empire roof coatings, $12,703 for the roof replacement at the old city shop. Was, I don't know if, did I miss something, was this something that was planned, or?
Oh, no, the wind blew the roof off the old shop, and so.
This
we had-
is the Wi-Fi building?
Yes, so we had to go through, it's an insurance claim.
So we will get reimbursed?
Yes.
On
We,
these? Okay.
I would have to look, but yes, we get reimbursed on it, so that should be underway. Do you have a report on that?
He's waiting for weather to be good for about 3 days straight because of the membrane roof that he has to lay down. So he has to get the right area of weather in there to lay that in.
It's good, Mom. I had that, but it's good stuff.
So then that made me think about the work that had to be done on the theater building. I don't know if I've seen anything come through. Was that all covered by insurance, or where did that come out?
That was an insurance claim. It's mostly done, mostly paid for, but there is still a little bit of work that needs to be done there, and a little bit that needs to be paid out for that work.
What, do you know the ballpark what that ended up being?
Around $4,000, I believe. I think it was 38 something.
So it wasn't as catastrophic as we.
It wasn't as bad as it could have been. I believe what he's waiting for now is things to dry out, a little bit more and blow in more insulation. I'm not really sure if he finished the painting. The person that was working on it had to have hernia surgery.
oh, geez.
So they just had to be doing nothing for 6 weeks. So, yeah.
I got one question to ask you.
So was there, go ahead.
Good.
Was there a structural failure on that leak, or was it just a leak?
It's just a leak.
When John came in by with DeSoto and asked you what effect it would have on the general fund by taking the water and wastewater, the taxes out of there and putting it back into the fund, have you gone through that and find out what effect it would
Well,
cause?
that would be about $33,000 that would be taken out of the general fund. There are some things that probably could be even more detailed, like for instance, right now, we put all of the mileage for lab samples and such into operations. It probably should be going into water and sewer, mostly sewer, that type of thing. So if the tax monies from those funds get moved back into water and sewer, we probably should move some of the related things that they cover back into those funds too.
Good.
But that's what it is, it's $33,000. So, typically the council moves $30,000 to $50,000 a year more into streets, that type of thing. So it's going to affect the ability of the general fund to be able to fund things that are, not 100% already in the budget. But it's,
Just have to do the
you
best
have to
we can.
figure it out, right? Because once you put it into water and sewer, that's it, it stays there.
Yeah. And so I think that's one reason why we should be working on the budget come July for this year.
So,
For this year,
For next year.
we gotta get a budget first.
Yeah, that's what we're going to work
Are
on.
we still going to have a budget workship? We talked about, or a budget retreat that we could all get together and.
Yes,
think thoughts on that.
well, actually, I'm glad you brought that up because at the next meeting, maybe people could give some timeframes and we can get it on the calendar for you.
thank you. did the budget committee indicate that they supported the recommendation that the money, that 33,000 be put into water sewer?
Yeah, if we put it in water and sewer, and then as time goes on, the council, and the budget committee and the council will work what they need to do to keep the general fund operating, but get that money back into a line with the water and sewer. It's just like what she brought up on the mileage for taking the samples up and things like that. Water and sewer should pay for those things, and so all that needs to be put in the correct line.
Do you think we'd be able to make a decision on it next meeting?
I hope.
I mean, it's
I'll break
a
it
good
down.
idea, if we're talking about that, and if we listen to the recommendation of the budget committee, if you guys strongly, it makes sense, and it's been reviewed, if at that point, it'd be worth making a decision one way or the other on this meeting.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So if you are thinking of doing that for this year, then you're necessitating budget amendments and figuring out where to take that this year.
You mean
At the
next year?
end of the year.
Okay, so you
Not
don't
now.
need to decide that at the next
No.
meeting.
No, we're
That
just-
would be a good topic for a budget retreat, is to
Right.
really, because then we could really look at what that looks like and make other suggestions for other things that could be moved or not covered, and decide if it's really worth it or not.
I'm just talking about
So that
salts.
would be a good, when we're talking about the retreat, that would be a good subject to put into that.
No, I wasn't thinking for this year, I was just going to establish the policy. But I think the suggestion by Shelley was good.
Okay, okay. Staff reports, council reports, Dan? Nothing, right?
You heard enough from me tonight.
I was just gonna ask if the employees could, on the credit card, if they could sign their receipts when they make the purchase and sign their receipts.
Certainly. Okay, Keith?
I'm going to thank Stephen, Public Works, for getting those attributive signs up. I'm still working on the trailhead. I think it's going to end up as another area. He's got them all up at the trailhead. I appreciate that. Got them all up. They look good. We had to adjust some of the locations, but all in all, it was good. Got them up the Jim Cannon, got it down to Memorial Park. It's all good. Thank you very much for that. The only not a hang up, but we couldn't. Steve Buxton, he had some concerns. We wanted to put the trailhead ones, you know, it says Tekoa up there, the telephone pole up there, the trailhead, and there's this Tekoa sign there that's supposed to tell you what station it is. I talked to the state parks, and they indicated that that would be a neutral zone. If you put it in front of it, dealing with talking about businesses and directing people down there for that one, and the railroad team, that would be a good place to put it. But we held off on that because Stephen had some concern maybe we might have to move. There's a sidewalk in there. I don't think that's likely. Steve Parks telling me that I indicated some of our concern. They said that that's the only place they'd be comfortable putting it. Otherwise, if you put it directly on the property, not in the neutral area, then it has to go through a whole bunch of committees. They got to decide on it. You can't advertise it all, and they got to know what content you're putting in there. It's got to be very generic, and they suggest you might not put it there and not move it other place. Because we did find some other spots, but again, the bureaucracy made it very complicated. So I don't see a problem. I said I would bring up with the council, I don't know if you know, the trailhead, the telephone pole, and then the Tekoa sign, and I was going to put it right in front of that, out of the way where it was not going to get run over by a car. So I think that would be a good spot for it. It'd be visible. State Parks has no problem. Question is, the mayor and the city council, I told Stephen I would bring it up. Are we pretty good, Stephen? Is that your concern?
Yeah, just that it would be in the way if we did like a street expansion up there.
Okay. And he might have to move it. And I said, well, if we approve it, then he can say, well, see, you guys approved it, so it's kind of, there it is. And if we have to remove it, then it'll be on the council, and they made a decision, and that's fine. So that's where we are. I don't know if we need to vote on it, but in a consensus, we're talking about what we're placing it.
Without going up there and laying eyeballs on it, I'm not sure I'm aware. Okay, so what would be, you guys, Pete's come to an idea where he thinks it would work. State Parks is fine, and what is the bad part about it?
So there's a telephone pole right when you enter. It kind of breaks off into a Y shape to enter there, and there's a telephone pole right there. I was just worried about future expansion, maybe putting a sidewalk up in there, and then I would have to move that sign to get it away from the sidewalk. Another avenue that I just thought of is we do have an alleyway through there that's kind of by their parking space or parking area that we might want to look into, make sure we, have the space there, and then we could probably put it in that alleyway.
It's not a bad idea, but when they come down the trail and they're either going through beyond or going down Washington Street, they will see the sign. And what we're trying to do is say, Railroad Tekoa, go down to these are what's offered downtown, go down and enjoy the community and, welcome to Tekoa. And then they'll see the rest of the signs as you put the right messages on them, thanks to you. And so that's our concern.
Just for what my opinion's worth, I know a guy with a backhoe. If it goes into the wrong spot, we can always dig it out of there.
811.
Right?
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time on this, so let's get it in, and if it causes something down the road, then we can figure it out from there. Okay?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Unless you guys got, does that work? All right. Okay, Marge?
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to personally congratulate Stephen for passing the test. Good job. It helps the city.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the trailhead going into the trestle, which is an amazing thing. I go over it all the time. But what can we do about all the writing on the building?
Okay. State Parks owns that ground now. All that's going to be gone.
Can it go away?
Yeah, it's all going to go away. I just talked to them a couple of days ago, and they said that they purchased it to clean it up, they did the arrangement, they had plans for it, they might put a horse corral there and some other places that would make you happy. To make John Wayne happy, they open her place, they can put their horses in and do that.
So will they spray paint over all that?
So,
All that?
oh, it'll be gone. They're gonna take all that Caddyshack will be gone, and any of the fencing, all will be gone. They're gonna fix it all up.
Well, it's
So they said we haven't got to it yet, they're gonna do it.
okay, well, I knew you would have the answers.
Yeah.
I knew that you did.
I
It is a state of the art for Tekoa up there. That trestle is a state of the art, and where they cleaned up where, the property there, parking, grass, it's a state of the art.
And they're mowing.
And that all that writing just really digs it.
We hope that at some point the parks will work out some reason so we can't go beyond where the Caddyshack is, that little shack with all the writing on it.
I'm okay with the shack.
So that'll be gone.
Totally the shack.
So that'll be gone. And since then I put up a little post that's got bags on it and a little sign that says keep the area clean, so you can take it for jobs.
Good.
And
I
we
take
put
it
some-
back to my dog.
Yeah, and so we got them trying to maintain it, got the parks done that, and
So did the Parks buy that lot then behind me going up the hill? That Ted had for sale for,
I don't know if they bought that. They bought, they just bought they bought on I know they bought on the other side. Wherever Ted was selling that piece of property on the east side of the trail, that whole area that goes down the hill a little ways, I know they bought that. Whether or not they bought down the other side, didn't ask them that. They might have. I knew they surveyed it on what was their property, which extends down a ways until you run some of that property. So that's a good question. I don't know how much they bought, but I was surprised about any of it, because it was as everything else has gone up as a lot. And they committed to, way back when, $500,000 for the trailhead, and they're actually going to do it. And we were talking to them about
you
it.
said they're gonna build new fences
They're going to put fences in, they're going to put,
on their property, so,
oh yeah.
so that it'll come down, no fence on. I'll have a new fence.
No,
And horses.
yeah, so they got a lot.
They put good fence in, I don't have to.
So I'm sure they'll be talking to you, and they've got a lot of other ideas, and they're gonna put some platforms down for tenting, a couple of there, walking or riding a bike on the west side or the south side of the trail, and so there's west side, I should say, and you can east or south side. You can put there, and they got tents. And they're trying to make it sort of usable, and for the John Ways, other people that come through there. So it's kind of covers all areas. And I went through there and kept it cleaned it up. They're even doing that too. They go up there and they see droppings on the trail up on the trestle and clean it up too. So that's where it's going. So it's going to be good. We're trying to get tours of it. Bike tours.
Okay.
Is a permanent restroom part of their plans, do you know?
Not at this point. They've got the porta potty up there, so they can keep that up there. And I know there's a sewer line there, but we talked about that. At this point, I don't want to push it. I'd rather have lights on the trestle than I would the porta potty. I mean the fix station, but we've gone around there for a long time. They said we don't have lights on the end of our trestle. I said, this is the middle of town.
It's about damn time you had lights on your
Yes,
trestle.
Jack, I started telling him it's about time. You need to start here. So we that argument isn't settled yet, and but I'm hoping we'll get somebody will have lights on across that trestle, and then maybe a permanent restroom. Since they come up there and maintain that, it wouldn't be a big deal. We wouldn't have to worry about us cleaning it, and they got to make it solid so it's indestructible when you build those, which they are. So
Okay.
Anyway, that's good.
We got you, Shelley. What you got?
A couple things. First of all, that Stephen, that walkway down at the rest stop is looking really nice. That's much needed. It's kind of a roller coaster walking through there sometimes, and you just get the water when the rainwater would run into the men's bathroom. So maybe is that the reason for doing that?
Yeah, just the kind of roller coaster. I mean, that created a lot of tripping hazards.
Yeah. We used to have some planters out there and we'd water them, and then they thought somebody was using them on the floor, but it was the plants running down underneath there. So anyway, that was really great. I was asked, are the mosquito spraying happening soon, or
Soon.
what's
I haven't talked to Kevin, find out what his plan is yet, but yeah. Yeah,
Is
I've
he
already
the
been
one
approached.
who
Kevin's the guy.
And he's on board with it?
Yeah. You know, I asked Kevin one time, since he's got the certificate, I says, what could we be doing better? And he says, we do it about the worst way we could do it, outside of not spraying. So when you spray, what you kill is the mosquitoes that have hatched. The ones that, after you spray, the ones that hatch tomorrow are not affected. I had breakfast with a guy over the weekend, and he said, there's some areas down in southern Idaho that spray every night. Every night. And as near as I can tell, I think I figured this out a couple of years ago, it runs us about $500 in chemical every time we spray.
Wow.
Thought about maybe spraying maybe twice or 3 times a week to see, just experiment and see if we notice over a period of maybe 2 weeks, hit it about 5 or 6 times to see if there's a distinct difference. But that's a lot of nights out for some guy, right? And a lot of chemical.
Dave has his beehives.
He doesn't spray in front of those.
Oh, okay,
He watches that.
okay.
And there's other people too that ask not to have it sprayed.
Right.
So that issue.
What do I do get behind?
Pardon? It doesn't do really good, because it starts at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and the bees are all flying through the town and everything. I kind of figured I lose anywhere from 10 to 20,000 bees with every day he sprays. So it's rough on them guys, there's no doubt about that.
Oh, a couple more things here. Well, just you mentioned Matt, and I had it written down, was when are we going to see Matt again? We haven't, other than the community meeting, we haven't had him here this year, and I know that he's working on the plans, right? So
Right.
it seems like we usually see him a little more frequently. Any plans to Give an update for what he's
I
working.
just talked to him just a couple hours
Yeah,
ago.
he was gonna come down tonight, but wound up postponing until the June meeting.
So we'll probably see him just, okay,
And
perfect.
the reason, I talked to him and he said that he wasn't gonna come down tonight because he didn't have answers to the questions you're gonna answer. And so I asked him, he's written on the next council meeting because he had to go to his design people and he wants to find out exactly what is gonna be required. So he hopefully has that answer on the next council meeting. Because of how many acres you have to have, what are you gonna have, what would be the alternative, and he just didn't have any answers today.
Okay, sounds good. And then the last thing I'll ask next. So, actually somebody brought this to my attention, so, and then I looked at it, is on the poster for advertising for our new employee. You know, I was looking at our meeting minutes, and we had approved from $22 to $25 an hour. And I think the poster says 21 to 25, so that, but it also said something underneath about the, I don't know how you had it worded, the range or whatever is up to $30. I wasn't sure how, I'm confused
They
about
changed
that.
the requirements on how you have to list things when you post for employment. Now, you have to give them a starting range and you have to give them an overall range. So the person knows that my starting range might be from 21 to 25, but the overall range for this job is expected to be from 21 to 30 or what have you.
And does that take account like because you mentioned the increases for the certifications. So does that kind of where we got that range at $30? Is
That's
that-
the idea. They might start with more experience, then we have to keep certifications in mind. We'll have a much more concrete system once all of the negotiations have happened
Sure.
and we know
Well, that's
exactly
what I
what to
figured.
tell
Okay.
people. But that's the idea. That's why I have to say that.
Okay.
Because I understand what you're saying.
And then,
Go ahead.
well, and then so I see, is that Jeff, is he our summer help? Or where are we on our?
Jeff right now is working as Stephen's assistant. Okay, he's stepped in, and then the second guy. Now, he's applied for the summer job. We haven't quite come out with a decision yet, okay? We are working on that. And so Jeff's helping Stephen out.
At what wages?
At the wages that Jessica was getting.
It's going to be less than that.
Yes.
Start at this is starting wage for public works
Right.
on trial. This, when he's done doing temporary public works, we'll put down to some agency.
Right.
The summer wages is 18. And what is the trial?
Because
Because,
temporary public works is 24.
Yeah, he's
That's
getting-
the lowest public works wage.
but we would start a new person at 21.
Yeah, but he
so-
doesn't get any benefits or
Oh, I see.
any of that.
Right.
Okay.
He's
Yeah,
just
it's-
helping out.
Have you had any interviews or have you scheduled?
We've interviewed for the summer position.
But not for the,
No, where it hasn't closed yet.
okay.
Until the first.
Isn't Jeff going to be gone for a while on some reason? Medical reason or something? Isn't there something planned?
No,
Nothing.
that's what I know.
Okay. I'm the rumor.
Okay, all right. Anything?
Well, I just want to make a note that I'm not trying to cause any trouble. I'm trying to come up with the most economical way that when we get a new sewer plant, that it doesn't kill a bunch of us. And so we're looking at, the budget committee's looking at ways that we can cut and still be more effective. So there might be some more in the future that we're going to look at to be cutting, but we'll see.
Well, the good discussions, Dave, I mean, it's not, we're working through, we may not land on what you're bringing, but I think it's a worthwhile discussion.
Dave, we appreciate you guys working on it. It's a complicated process.
All right. Approve the bills. Do I hear a motion to approve the bills?
I'll make a motion to approve the bills and pay them.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Accept the motion to adjourn.
All in the motion to adjourn.
No second. All in favor, say aye. Okay, thank you.